Seem chipper this morning.
I am. I had a transcendent experience at the zoo. It was transcendent. Yes. I go over there for their morning walking program, and it's kind of cool because some of the animals are out that aren't normally out, when you're there at other times of the day. And I went over to the red panda exhibit, of course.
Of course.
And one of them was just sitting there on a branch or a log or whatever it is they have there. And I just walked up and was looking at it, and then it raised its head and it just looked straight at me. And I just looked at the red panda for like 5 minutes in the eyes. And it was awesome. And I feel like
melted away.
I did. I just floated away on a cloud. I feel like I unlocked an achievement in life. I leveled up, got some XP.
Yes. Got looked at by red panda.
I mean, looked in the eyes. I mean, we connected.
So what you're saying is it would be legal for you to take it home now?
I think so, because
Yeah.
we bonded spiritually. So
I think my keeper friend would be disappointed.
I think it was telling me, it was like, Tana, come get me.
Yeah, that's fun.
Yeah. So anyway, how about you? What's up with you? What's new? What's happening?
Oh my goodness. Well, first of all, I'm coming off from being sick,
Yes.
which that sucked because couldn't talk without it. It sounded like someone was taking a hook to my throat.
Fun.
Yeah, it was great. What I started doing before I got sick, and what I'm going to continue doing now that I'm feeling better, is I started all those things of where they're like, oh, have this hourly planner so you know what you're doing every single hour and stuff like that. And like you and Dad always coming off from being sick, but you and Dad always told me that I need to set reminders, or I need to set a certain time every day that I can do something. But setting times for me to do something doesn't work for me because my brain's focused on something else. So what I figured out one day while I was just at work, I was just thinking of this. I was at work and I had a 6-hour shift. So it was a shorter shift that day, and I'm used to working 8 hours. So I was like, what if I just go home and I just work another 2 hours at home? And
how do you do that when your job is being a barista?
Yes, not that job. No, but going home, and for 2 hours, I have to either edit a certain podcast that I do, or I have to do chores, or maybe make dinner if I don't particularly feel like making dinner that day, or anything like that can count towards the 2 hours. So I literally set a timer on my phone, and I've just been doing that since. Every single day, I have to have 8 hours of work to do.
Oh, and whether it's work like your job or...
And honestly, I don't think I've ever been more productive.
Really?
Yeah. I mean, before I was sick, but because then I went back to all right, I'm going to lay in bed for the whole day.
Right.
And it's weird because I've been more productive than usual. I've been going past my 8 hours some days, because it doesn't feel like, oh, at 5:30, I'm going to have to go and do this thing.
So it's more about the amount of time you spend doing something in a day than scheduling things at certain times.
Yeah, because Shelby will always do hour by hour. She's like, this hour I'm gonna read, this hour, every single day at between 7 to 8 p.m. she wants to read. Can't do that. I'm if I'm in the middle of a video game, I want to continue playing my video game, or if I'm in the middle of working on something, I want to finish working on that thing. I can't just drop it and do something else.
Right.
And part of that's because of my ADHD. I just get hyper focused on something, and so then I have to do it. And so I think that helps me. When I get distracted with something, the distraction can be now the work. Like before, it was always, well, I can't do the work now because I'm supposed to be doing that later on tonight. That's the time I set aside for it.
Oh, right.
And so like I don't do the work then, and then I don't do the work later either because then I just don't want to. Like,
that's funny because that reminds me of what's called productive procrastination, which is like, oh, during this time you're supposed to be doing this, but instead you're doing something else that is also a thing that needs to be done. It's not like you're just like watching a movie. Right. It's not the thing that you've scheduled for that time. Now, our listeners are not going to be able to see this, but I think you will enjoy how terrifying this schedule looked to you, because I recently was trying to figure out my schedule, and I went the direction of Shelby
of hourly,
of like scheduling everything. And
oh no. no. That's
yeah. So it's because
no, thank you.
Because you can't see it. I scheduled. I have a couple different calendars in my Google Calendar, and I have one that's like for work, and like one that's for health, and then one that's for like chores and things around the house and stuff. And I have them all. I've
already seen the invites that you've sent me for like the podcast, like doing the podcast every Monday morning, and I still haven't accepted those because I'm like,
yes, I noticed.
I'm not gonna put those in my calendar.
But that's when we do it.
Yeah, but I don't need my phone telling me that too.
Oh my goodness. But yeah, so when I had a potential client ask, when can you meet next week? And I pulled up my calendar and I went, because this is the first week I had it on, and I was like, I have no time. And, but it's like, that is the ideal week. I think
that's why like it's helping me too, is because it feels like I have all the free time I could want. Like, because it's like, oh, I have 8 hours to do stuff, but then I have like I could just do whatever I want. And then if I decide I want to do work, then cool, that's like closer to my 8 hours.
Right.
I get stuff done. And also like that also means that on days where like I do work 8 to 9 hours or something like that, I could just go home and I can just like play games for the rest
You're
of
like,
the day.
well, I worked 8 hours.
Yeah.
This is my free time now.
And then I've noticed that even with that, I started working even when I went home too, even though I knew I had nothing to do, because it's like almost like, since I don't have to do anything, it makes me want to do things.
That's interesting.
Like,
yeah,
because like it's like there's now no responsibility for the rest of the day, so there's no pressure and no anxiety or stress for it, and so then I'm just like, I'm gonna get it done.
Right. See, I think that's interesting because there are so many different ways to approach your schedule. And, oh my gosh, there's so many like productivity gurus and other, I don't know what else they would be called, but so there's like the idea of time boxing, which is you set basically an appointment for yourself. And you're like, well, during this time, I'm going to work on this project. And I think the idea behind that is that you do that regularly, right? So maybe you're like every Tuesday afternoon, you do X, Y, Z.
Yeah.
And that way you're just constantly working on projects rather than just waiting for deadlines to come up and then doing that. Other people like to schedule their week at the beginning of each week. Yeah. Other people work off of a to-do list, and it's just like, well, I'm working today and whatever's on my to-do list, I'm going to try to get done. And I've tried so many different things and nothing ever works for me. My brain is like, nope.
It's weird because even though I feel like I'm still looking at it from the outside, it feels like I'm still constricted, like with time, because like I still have to do 8 hours every day. But like it doesn't feel that way for some reason. Like I don't know if it's just me or if that's how other people will feel too.
I'm sure lots of people, like I can tell you that I have never been able to just chill. Like in my mind, there's always something that can be done, right?
Well, yeah.
And people will say that, like, they'll be like, well, your to-do list is never going to, you're never going to accomplish your entire to-do list. Right. And then just be like, I'm done, because
unless you make your to-do list shorter.
Right. But I mean, like, if you're thinking about all the things that need to be done, you know what I'm saying? Especially when you own a house, because then it's like, well, this might need fixed and that needs fixed, and you have to mow the lawn and, you know, water the flowers, blah, blah, blah. But, it's like it's a never ending thing, right? And so because of that, I'm just always thinking I should be productive right now. I should be productive right now. And then what will happen is my body will shut down and be like, nope. And then I'll end up just like watching TV or something. And then, but I won't be like relaxing. It won't be like, oh, I'm enjoying this show. It's like, oh, I'm doing this because right now my brain can't cope.
Yeah.
It sounded like you were going to say something. Sorry. That's why.
I was, but then I lost train of thought immediately.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
And that's another danger.
Yes.
Yeah. And I think I know there's other people out there like me that just can't. And the funny thing is, you know, I was unemployed for over a year. And I sometimes look back at that time and I think, why didn't I accomplish more? Like, I didn't have a job. I could have gotten so much done, you know, because we have a friend who went through a period of unemployment and wrote a book, you know. But, you know, people have different personalities, and there was a lot of stuff that happened during that year. A lot of deaths and injury and other health issues, and you know what I mean? And
there's always COVID like looming in the background.
There's that. And for me, that just caused a lot of depression.
Yeah.
You know, and it's like, it's hard to get yourself motivated. And also, you know, I don't know that people fully appreciate how much time it takes to apply for jobs that are like white collar jobs, you know, because you have to like do your resume, and then you have to tailor the resume to the job, and you have to write a cover letter, and you know. And
then you have to do like 4 interviews.
Oh my gosh. And that's a whole other thing I could go.
Yeah, so I've given myself those 8 hours, and that like includes today. Like today, I'm off of work. I'm off of work every Monday. Mm-hmm. But today, I'm still going to do 8 hours of work. It's just mostly going to be doing podcast stuff.
Right.
Always as well, the days where it's like I've completed all 8 hours, mm-hmm. and like I've felt accomplished. Like that's kind of my to-do list. Mm-hmm. Is like, it's just the 8 hours. Like, it's just, that's the only thing on there is complete 8 hours of something. Like, do it.
Of something.
Yeah. And so then I think that like picks up my motivation to then do more things. And so it also helps, like, for a while, what I tried to do to get more things done is I tried to take a different approach, which is just passively do things. Like, for cleaning, for instance, if I'm going to the kitchen, then I just grab whatever dishes are on my way and mm-hmm. go to the kitchen and put away the dishes real quick. And it takes me like an extra minute and a half. Mm-hmm. And at first it was like really hard to remember to do that because mm-hmm. that's not like built into me at all. But now I have that built on top of the 8 hours. And plus doing the 8 hours has made me more cognizant of it too. So like I've been doing passive stuff more often now mm-hmm. as well, which has also helped me be more productive even when I don't have that timer going on my phone.
Yeah.
It's also nice because it's like, I think when you're doing a project or something like that, you're like, oh, there's so much of the project left. And you feel like you have to sit there and do it for a while. And so then you just kind of shut down and then don't do any more of it for the rest of the time.
Yeah.
But for me, I look at my phone and I have this timer that's counting down and it just says like there's an hour and 20 minutes remaining. And so I'm like, oh, I only have to do this thing for another hour and 20 minutes. Or I have to do this thing and then maybe go do some chores or something like that. Like maybe I'll take a break and do some laundry.
Yeah.
And then I'll come back. And the timer is still going down because I'm doing chores.
Right.
Although I've also made a rule for myself that the time, like if I've completed all 8 hours and I still have to make dinner or I still have to do chores, I'm mm-hmm. not just going to like forsake
Right.
my chores just
Like,
because like, well, I don't have any more responsibilities for today. No, I mean, I also have animals to take care of, so that's not fair to them if I did that, but
Right, yeah. Sorry, animals, you don't get to eat today.
yeah.
So do you just set a timer at the beginning of the day and just like pause it at different times?
Yep. So like if I just like feel like playing a game, I just pause the timer and then just play a game.
And it's just like the timer app on your phone, like the one that comes with the phone. And it doesn't like reset or anything. It just
Nope.
Oh.
Even if you like swipe it closed and reopen it, it still has the same time on there.
Really?
Yeah.
I may
Well,
have to try your method.
I don't know about that. It might. I know the timer always stays the same. I don't know if it might still reset the time though. But it'll stay up on the front of your phone like the whole day for me, and so I could just hit play or pause on my lock screen anytime during the day.
That might be a method to try. I mean, I've tried so many other things. I've tried doing that time boxing thing, but it is exactly well, I don't feel like doing this thing at this moment.
Yeah.
You know, and I had that problem even when it was, you know, like I had 40 hours a week at one job. I would still be doing my job, but I didn't feel like working on that project at that moment. So I would work on this project instead.
Yeah.
Like, you know what I mean? And yeah, so that's interesting.
And there's also some days where I'm like, all right, since I have like 3 extra hours today, I want to do this specific thing today. And so I basically plan it out in my brain. And then when I get around to it, I'm like, nah. And I do something else, but I'm still completing the 3 hours, so it's still productive.
Right.
And then sometimes what happens is like, then I actually go on and do the thing that I wanted to do in the first place.
Yeah.
Which is what happened when I wanted to like do a bunch of budgeting stuff and figure out all of my monthly and yearly stuff yesterday. So I know the exact dates so I can plan out my finances a lot easier.
Right.
And like I wanted to do that, but then I didn't do it the whole day yesterday. And I was like, cause I just kept not wanting to. And then I had like 20 minutes left on my timer. And so I was like, I'll just do the budgeting thing now.
Yeah.
And it's like, it went past the 20 minutes, but I got it done.
See, that's the only problem I have is there are times when there is, you know, I have a big list of things to do, and there's one thing that absolutely must happen today. And I will put that thing off.
Yeah.
And then I end up staying up too late because that's the thing I have to do. I did have these flashcard things I used for a while called Eat That Frog.
Okay.
And then it was said, the idea is basically like if eating a frog is the worst thing you have to do in a day, do that first. Get it over with.
Yeah, I've heard that before.
Because, otherwise you're dreading it the whole day, right? So I'm trying to flip that switch. So it's, you know, at least I'm getting the things that have to get done.
I think that's one of those passive things I was talking about. Like I'll like passively poke and prod it, but like not like sit down and do it. But that way I'm like doing a little bit of it every now and then. And there's some things you can't really do that with.
Right. Yeah.
But like with my computer setup that I have in my room, I have 3 monitors set up. And one of which
3. Well, dang, ain't you fancy?
And one of them is the ultra wide that Dad gave me, which basically means I have 4.
Right, yeah.
Because I can split that one monitor into 2.
Yeah.
So the thing that I'm passively doing, I'll just keep up on one monitor.
Oh.
And so then I'll like go and just sit down at my computer and just like type out a couple things and then stand back. And every once in a while I'll sit down and go to type out stuff and I just like end up in a trance doing it for a while.
That's interesting. Because if it's up there, then it's reminding you. Because that's the other thing. As I get older, I just forget. I used to be able to keep everything in my head. You know, like you want me to be there at 11:53 a.m. on Friday, I will be there at 11:53. I don't have to put it in my calendar. You know. And now it's just like for the podcast I do with your dad, there was one week where I just 100% forgot to post the podcast episode. I had a really busy day and it got interrupted with some different things, and then I had to like run an errand, and so I was out of like my normal routine, and we had dinner, and I was like, man, I don't have anything else to do for the rest of the evening. I'm just gonna chill out. And
That's funny.
And then like the next morning I was like, oh no.
Do you schedule it or do you just hit post?
I schedule it.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. And so I forgot to schedule it.
Yeah.
And then the next day I had like a busy day, and so I couldn't get to it. You know what I mean? So it was just, and it just ended up being posted like a day late. And that's the kind of thing that happens that makes me panicky, which makes me not be able to relax, because I'm like, what if I'm missing something, you know? And then something like that happens, and it's like, see, you know?
Yeah, I know those feelings. Because like I feel like I'm so paranoid about everything. Like I'm not one of those paranoid people. It's like there's people in the walls, but like I'm paranoid. Like I'm always forgetting something. I'm always gonna say the wrong thing, or I'm gonna do the wrong thing, or like which I think is why it takes me so long to like respond to people sometimes, is because I'm afraid I'm just going to say the wrong thing, or I'm gonna hurt their feelings somehow or something like that. And so I just end up staring at them.
What's funny is I do not perceive that you care about that at all.
I do. It's like
that I just always perceive you as being like, oh, whatever, I'm just gonna say what's on my mind, you know?
Because I have done that before.
Yes, you have.
And then and then people get frustrated with me, and so it like makes me paranoid. And so like that's why I never raised my hand in class or anything like that. And of course I was like, all right, Malcolm, you got to just raise your hand and do it. And I raised my hand and I got the answer wrong, and I never raised my hand again.
Yep. That's always the pressure in school. Yeah.
Yeah.
Nobody wants to be wrong.
Yeah. Nobody wants to be wrong. And oh my gosh, I hate teachers that will be like, point out a random person in the class.
You.
Yeah. They always picked on me. Actually, my one teacher always picked on me because he always knew I had the answer. I just didn't want to raise my hand.
Well, at least it wasn't he like picked on you because you never had the answer.
Yes,
you know.
those are even worse teachers.
Yeah.
That's just rude. But yeah, I kind of wish I had this work ethic when I was in school. Well, maybe not, because school is 8 hours long. So that means I would just have never done any homework. But
to be fair, that would be better for school if they wouldn't assign homework. If they would do things a different way.
There was like a post that some teacher made recently where she was like, she sent out a letter to all the parents and was just like, I did a lot of research over summer this year, and I'm not assigning any homework besides what's left over from class this year, because I found out that
it doesn't help.
It doesn't do anything to help the kids.
Nope, and it just stresses kids out. And
So like, they're training you to work those 8 hours every day, but then they're also giving you another like,
I know,
another like 8 hours of work throughout the week. Yeah, you literally are. Like, oh my gosh, that's one thing I've never understood as I've grown up, is that I've worked less after I got out of school, and I've always been told in school that I'd be working even more than I was in school.
Not typically, anyway. I mean, there's some jobs, sure.
Well, yeah, some jobs. But it's like, I go to work, I come home, I only have my responsibilities now. But I still get paranoid that I have homework.
Right.
And I hate that. I'm like, oh, what if I work at a coffee shop. What homework would I have? Like, what?
To study.
Yeah, I gotta.
How to make.
That's why I'm making my own drinks at home all the time. I'm
you
studying.
are doing homework.
Yeah,
just
I'm studying all the time. You know, I should add that to my time for 8 hours every day.
Really.
It's me making
this
my
chai
drinks
here. I'm practicing. Yeah, that's why when I taught college composition, like that was one of the most difficult things to teach, because people had to, like, you're supposed to teach like the concepts of writing and like logic and like all these things, and then they're supposed to go home and write papers. They don't do that. Like, even I didn't do that. Like, I wrote most of my papers the night before, and I was an English major. Like, you know.
What else are you supposed to do? Plan ahead?
And it's like, I know they're not doing it. I know they're not reading my feedback, even though I'd spend a crap ton of time on feedback. And then they're supposed to revise before turning stuff in. Most of them wouldn't. You know what I mean? Like, it's just... And so that's why I really liked the idea of writing labs, which is your classroom was like, you're in there and you're writing, and then you're getting real-time feedback and you're learning how to write the thing.
That's why actually one of my favorite, like, because I went to, like, since I went to UT, like, a lot of the classes weren't good. Like, a lot of the classes were easier than my high school classes, because I went to a college prep school. And so it was like a breeze. But still, one of my favorite English teachers was at UT, because he would he wasn't one of those teachers that would push their writing style onto you. And I hated that so much.
Yeah.
And he would just teach us how to do stuff. And he said that you can get a C if you don't revise anything, even if your paper is amazing. And there's like nothing wrong. Well, obviously, if there's nothing wrong with it, you can't revise it. But like it's like above that class's level and everything like that. You still have to revise it and turn it in. But he said all you have to do is like fix the grammar mistakes that are in his revisions, or like fix all the easy stuff that you can go through in like 5 minutes and like right click something and change the word or whatever. And then you can get an A on the paper. And like that honestly was like such a good way to get me to
actually pay attention. Yeah, that's actually really, really brilliant. And it will probably instill in a lot of students like the process of revising.
I actually liked him so much that I was like the only one in the class that actually did the reading.
I don't doubt that, because anytime I would have the lecture, quote unquote, time, I'd ask questions and everybody just kind of stare at me. And I'm like, yeah, they didn't read this. Because I mean, I was at Virginia Tech, I was teaching engineers.
Yeah.
Are they really going to sit down and read a chapter on technical writing? Like, they're not going to do that. They're more concerned about their engineering classes.
Yeah,
and football.
Yeah, I remember that was definitely one of the teachers that would always ask me the questions, because he always knew that I knew what part of the book he was talking about.
This guy read it. Yeah. That's always difficult to figure out. Figuring out optimizing your time.
It was also crazy to me that he was apparently introducing the thought of thinking about your thinking, and it like blew so many people's minds in the classroom. And I was like, have you never thought of that before? Like, have you gone 18 years of your life without thinking constructively? Like what? I don't know. That definitely took me by surprise. But.
Well, I think the problem is a lot of in a lot of schools, they, these stupid standardized tests that aren't worthwhile.
That's true.
You have to teach to the test. And so a lot of, in a lot of schools, like they don't really get a lot of the creative, different kinds of ways of thinking and teaching and stuff, because they want to make sure people pass the tests.
So that's why I got a good score on my PSAT without studying, is because I just knew how to take tests. Like, this answer obviously isn't the right one. This answer obviously isn't the right one. And this one is like possibly the right answer, but this one looks like it's closer to the right answer. So I'm going to select that one.
Yeah, but to be fair, also there's some people who just can't take tests. They're just not good test takers. Too. And that's another reason why standardized tests are BS, because there are students who just can't take tests. So how are you supposed to rate them? Like, I don't know. Anyway, sorry. Like, are we rating them on their intelligence and their ability to do stuff, or are we rating them on their ability to take a test? Like, you know what I mean? Like, that's all it measures. But anyway, sorry. I get frustrated about that.
It's also, I don't understand why people measure intelligence by IQ. Because IQ
I have a lot of questions about IQ tests.
IQ is just to measure your ability to process stuff. And people with ADHD cannot process things quickly, which means that my IQ is like an average IQ, but I could always just like sit down and do a test and get an A without studying the night before. And it's like, so it's like, is IQ correlated to standardized tests, or is it not?
Because we have all kinds of things that are like, and honestly, to loop it back to what you're talking about being productive, like that's another thing that we judge people by, is their ability to be productive. And in the format that we have created for work, right? Yeah. Like there are so many studies that are like a 40-hour work week is too much.
Yeah, that it is.
And but that was a win because of labor unions to get down to 40 hours.
Get down to 40 hours?
Yes.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah. That was a major win for labor unions way back when. But now we've just accepted that a 40-hour work week is like what we should do.
It's crazy because I'm like frustrated at my job because I can't get 40 hours in a week because I need to make money. So I need 40 hours.
Yeah.
Shouldn't work 40 hours, barely even make a living wage by working 40 hours.
Yeah.
What the hell, man?
Basically, hours should be down, wages should be up, but greed.
Yeah. I would say basically it's my 8-hour thing. Because I will say, even though I say 8 hours every day, Thursdays are my day off.
Okay.
I don't have to do work on Thursdays.
Even cleaning, whatever.
Yeah. And a lot of the time I still end up doing something that day.
Yeah,
But like,
yeah.
and even then it still kind of is a work day because that's my D&D day. So like a lot of the time I'm preparing for my D&D session that day throughout the whole day.
That work.
Well, sometimes it feels like it because sometimes it's boring as hell
Really?
to prepare the sessions.
Yeah.
Like doing the sessions is a lot of fun.
Sure.
But preparing
you
the
guys,
sessions.
I hear lots of laughter when you guys are.
Yeah. But like it's basically like studying for me. I'm like, all right, I got to memorize what's in every single one of these chambers in this dungeon or stuff like that. But
Yeah.
so sometimes it feels like work. But no.
Yeah. Well, I think that was a good thought that I might consider of doing, like not worrying about scheduling it and just like, did I do 8 hours worth of work? Because the other issue I have is I get tired at different times of the day, and then at like 7 p.m. I get a second wind, sometimes as late as 8.
Yeah.
And then I'm like, oh, I want to work on that, and I just like get an idea and then I want to work on it, and it's like, I don't want to work all day and then do that too, plus I would rather like during the day when it's nice out, I would rather like go for a walk. And I also really like to run my errands in the mornings on weekdays because the stores are not busy.
That's true.
I used to drop you off at school when you're in high school and then drive over to the Target that was nearby. And that's also where I would get my walking in during the winter when it was too cold to walk outside. And so I'd walk up and down every aisle, and there would be maybe like 3 other customers in at that time.
Yeah.
And so it's so much easier to get in and out of places. And I think that's one of the things that's unfortunate about American life is there's so many things set up in ways that are just not good for rhythms of like your natural rhythms and for optimizing your time. And, it's like kids have to be at school between these hours. Most people have to be at work between these hours, which means everybody's leaving at the same time, which means traffic is, you know what I mean? And we don't even have it bad here. Like this is nothing here. Like you go to, Chicago or New York or something and it's like,
it's easier to walk. Yeah.
Honestly. Yeah. Of course, they also have better public transportation than we do, but there's a reason for that. Yeah. So, yeah. So, anything we can do to improve your experience of life?
It's been weirdly helpful. Like, I thought it was, like, kind of a dumb idea at first. I was like, oh, yeah, just do 8 hours. Like, oh, I worked 6 hours and 27 minutes. That means I have an hour and 33 minutes left.
I think for me, I could see this being valuable too, because I've always been a little bit of a workaholic, but as my chronic illness has progressed and I've gotten older, I just have less energy. I have less energy, and then brain fog, as you know, is one of my side effects of
great talents.
Yes, it's one of my great talents. I'm really good at it. One of the side effects of my chronic illness, and it just seems to keep getting worse, and so it's really hard for me to focus a lot. And I think it could, if I have a wide open day, I think it could be way too easy to just be like, well, I'm going to do this now and I'm going to do that now, and But if I'm like, oh, my part of my 8 hours and I hit that timer, it might help me focus more. Like, oh, I'm going to spend this time doing this, so then I can free up other time to, So I'm going to give it a try. Thanks, son.
You're welcome. I think it mostly helps me because I don't feel stuck to things.
Yeah.
I'm able to just because I'll literally do stuff for 5 minutes and then move on to another work thing and do that for 10 minutes.
Yeah, that's...
Because then it just doesn't feel draining.
Yeah.
It feels like, oh, I moved a couple things around and now the room looks 20 times cleaner. Cool. Now that the room looks a little nicer, I'm going to go sit down at my desk and do some editing.
Yeah. Well, that's the other thing. Like a less cluttered space for most people helps them be more productive.
But I don't think a lot of people think of chores as work, or
Sure.
or they think of it as work, but they think of it as a different type of work.
It absolutely. Well, yeah.
And so I think like combining it all into one category that's just work is like makes it almost easier to swallow.
Now, I think I will say that once you start having children, you know, that the idea of sticking to 8 hours a day is like, you know, because, you know, if you have a full-time job and then you have to pick up your kids from school and then you have to take them to basketball practice and then you have to cook them food and then you have to, you know what I mean? Like,
hey, I'll just stop timing myself. I'll just be like, all right, that was enough for today.
Right. I mean, you won't need to because you will get like 10 to 12 hours of like work, quote unquote, in, you know, in a day. So
I always feel bad for those parents that like love their space to be super clean and they get insanely stressed when they have kids because then everything is cluttered because there's no time to clean.
I don't know what that's like at all. Yeah, and that's a stressor for me, and I try to relax a little bit about it, but if it were up to me, this place, like, everything would be put away, the surfaces would be pretty clear just for a few decorative things. And I'm not a tchotchke person. I don't like tchotchkes, so I wouldn't have a bunch of stuff out, but I would have, like, you know, so there's some plants and a couple decorative things, and like everything would be put away all the time. You know, and it's hard when you live with, you know, 3 other people. Like, that's just not gonna happen.
Yeah.
You know, and I also don't want to like be a tyrant and be like, you know, following you all over the place, like pick that up, move that away, you know. So yeah. Anyway, all right, so try it. Schedule 8 hours, unless you have a full-time job and lots of other stuff to do afterwards. Then...
I mean, it doesn't have to be 8 hours.
Yeah,
you can always maybe, like, if you have a job that's always 9 to 5, like every single day, then maybe instead of saying you have 8 hours total, like say, oh, I have 2 hours that I need to do stuff at home.
Yeah.
Like for me, my job, like I go in at 11 some days, I go in at 7 some days.
Yeah, you're all over the place.
So for me, saying 8 hours a day works for me. But some people have like really consistent job schedule.
Yeah.
So if you have that, then you could just be like, okay, I'm gonna do 1 hour of stuff at home or 2 hours of stuff at home, and just do that. Or maybe if you do want to have like those whole hours set up, then say like 10 hours or something. Or
I will also add that you have an advantage in a way in that you and Shelby split your chores. Like you're not the person who's doing all the things. And so I think that's helpful when, you know, because some people have partnerships in which it's very uneven. You know? So
I say we even split the chores themselves. Like sometimes we both do the same chore, but we're doing different parts of it.
I see what you mean.
Yeah.
I was like, huh? Okay. Yeah. So cool. I think people should give it a try.
Yeah, I do too, because it's been so helpful for me.
Good.
So, yeah, good.
Yeah.
Gosh.
All right. Is it time to do the old Midwestern goodbye?
Where we stand around outside and talk for 10 minutes before
Yeah, I was going to say, like, we did the Midwestern goodbye in other episodes, and we just did the, like, slapping of the knee and the, well, time to get going. But a true Midwestern goodbye, we would do that, like, 20 minutes ago.
Yeah. we should do that when we, like, introduce the topic for the day. And be like, well, now that we've talked about the base stuff of our lives,
time to get going.
Go. But here's all of the really interesting details. And make sure you give me a call.
And then we should say, okay, we really should get going, and then have 10 more minutes after that.
Yes, there we go. We get closer to the door.
Yes, we should pick up the mics and move them and just keep, anyway. So, well.
Ow.
It's about time we get going.